Hi everyone and welcome back. And in this video, before going to talk about the admin dashboard, this is the last video we are going to talk about. I will just try to group up all the concepts of client-side rendering and server-side rendering and how we can approach all those things. Okay, so initially we discussed about how we can create the routings. Okay, so we have the routes folder inside source, and inside routes you can create a API routes. API routes, let's say you will create a simple folder here that is called API, and then you will create a server.ts inside it. And inside this you can create plus server.ts, and you can define get, put, post, all these set of methods you can create inside the APIs. These are like API routes. Or then there are page routes. Let's say I want to create a simple to-do app, right? So I will do is I will create a to-do folder, and then inside to-do folder you can create a page.svelte, page.server.ts, page.ts, or even you can create a server.ts. And what is the use of server.ts? To create a API routes. So you can create a in server.ts you can define get, put, post methods, get, put, post methods, and submit the data and use these APIs in your to-do app. Okay, now coming to the client side rendering and server side, it's like Svelte Kit is server side, but it doesn't mean that each and everything you are going to write is server side only here. What most of the times what we do is, let's say I created to do component page.svelte, right? It will have a simple form. Let's say you are going to create a simple form here, right? That form will have a validation. So what you are going to do is you will submit a form, and then this form will be submitted to the server side actions. Okay, so this form will be submitted and you will handle that inside a page.server.ts. Right, inside page.server.ts you can do the validations. Okay, the use whatever the to do input is there, and then you can deal with this. You can actually access the fetch here and make an API call, or you can have some database already there, I mean like Prisma already there, and you can go like inside a lib you already have a dbserver.ts, database.ts, which is talking to, let's say, the Prisma, because it's all server side. And these are like CRUD operation. So if from the lib database.ts you are performing all of these together. Okay, so you wrote a simple form, and this is a server side action. So you submitted the form, server will handle this inside page.server.ts. There you get the data of a simple form, you validate that, and then what you can do with the data, because data you have to send it to some other external API, or you can do two things from here. You can make a simple XHR request, because you have access to fetch at the server side also, and from the cookies you can get the token, access token or something, if the API is protected. So you are making a XHR request. Or what you can do is, let's say I already have, because Svelte Kit is a server side. On server side you already have the everything set up, database queries and all. So in lib database.ts you already have a helpers methods which are writing data to the database. Okay, so what you can do is you submit the form, and then after submitting you can write the code here, and then you can write a database queries and you can process the data. This is all server side. It's like you are writing a simple express API endpoint. This is also possible. Or you have an external API which is already available on some server. You have access to access token and the fetch on the server side. So you can make a call. So this is all pure server side, because nothing is happening at the client side. You have a simple form, submit it, The data is going to the server is dealing with that data. Even the data validation is happening at the server side and persisting is happening at the server side, or you may be calling an external API to the server. So you won't see anything happening at the client side in the network tab because there is no API is happening. The server is calling some another API itself. So no activity at the client side. This is a pure SSR. Okay. Now client side, when you talk about CSR, let's move this thing to here for now. Now let's talk about client side. Let's say you are writing the same setup, same thing, but you are doing now, you wanted to do now client side stuff. Means you are not going to submit this form to the page, to the server. What you are doing is I just have page.svelte, that's it. Inside page.svelte you have created a simple form. So there is a simple form, and when you submit the form, you are using some client side form library. You have the data available, what you have submitted when you click on submit button. So this data you are not going to submit to the server. What you will do is you can use these Svelte Kit, because on the server side you don't have access, you don't have an access to the store. There is no concept of server side store. You just get the data and make the API call, that's it, and you can return the response using page data from this page server.ts. This is what you can do. When it comes to the client side, you can explore all the concepts of the store actions of the Svelte JS. You have the simple form, you do the data validation here using, there are libraries I will talk about. You submit the form. Now from here, once you click on submit, the data validation is done, you can trigger an action. Okay, that action is nothing but it will initialize it will get the current state of the store, and then it will say okay, add to do. Okay, so add to do will trigger the action, and then from here you will make an API call. I mean, these are all are the building blocks I have added. So what you will do is you will make a simple XHR call. And you are making it from the client side, so you know what is the status, and based on the status you will update the store. Based on the response you will update the store. So update the store. Okay, initially once you make the API call, I will set the loading true, error false, and once you get the response, error null, loading false, and you got the data. But that is now inside a store. The data is available inside a store also, and the store data can be populated back to your component. Okay, the form has been submitted, you got the data, new to do has been added, you will be able to show that inside a to do list. So like this is a to do, and there can be another route on top of this is, which is ID, and inside that you have a more components, like because this is also a route, so you will be creating another component like okay, I don't like this. So inside this you will have a page.svelte, and now the data is inside a store, right? Data is inside a store. You can populate this data from the store anywhere in any of the component which are available. So this is purely client side CSR, because we are using all the client side concept of using the store hooks and the external API. The client is making XHR request to the external API, which is adding the to do, and then once the successful response is coming, you are updating the store with the new to do, and then that new to do is in the store. So that store data will be populated to everywhere, wherever whoever is subscribing to that store. It's a writable store. Okay, so this is the main difference. How we do it, we can actually talk to external APIs through different places. You can write your APIs here, server.ts, like let's say add to do. You define the get put post in the server.ts, and then inside a get put post you can make a call to the external API also, instead of having your own database and all. Okay, you can use this libdatabase.ts to, I mean, it's not a, it can be libserver.ts, which is persisting your data to some database query because it's all server side. Or from the form, you can use fetch call to make an external API call and save the data. But when it comes to the client side, it's all about using the fetch. You have the token, access token from some store, you get it and you send the request, and it's all client side because it's all client side because when you click on submit, the data is inside a page component. You send it to some function actions. Action will trigger the action, will use the store, that will make an API call. Store is nothing but a class. You will get the writable store, what is the current state, and then make a API call, get the data, update the store. That's it. So you will make SSR request that will give you either success or failure. Based on that, you will update the store and the data will be populated. So this thing here, this colorful stuff, is all about client side rendering that we are doing everywhere in the React or any client side framework. CSR, you have the form, you submit, you trigger the action. These are the asynchronous action. If based on the data, you update the store and reflect that. But when it comes to server side, you don't get all these XSR requests because server is taking care of that, and then based on the success and failure, it will be returning the data and you will be accessing that data in the page data. And I mean, these are all the concepts of Svelte Kit. Before we talk about the admin dashboard API, you can build a simple to-do app, you can use the layout, you can talk about the form actions, you can talk about the load function, shared load function, which exists in the page.ts, and the server side load function, which we write in the page.server.ts. We can also write the Sveltekit APIs, API routes in using inside API folder. You can create a server.ts and put your get, put, post, call, and you can use those APIs because those APIs are like express routes, get, put, post, Node.js express routes. You can consume them through these components inside page.server.ts. You can make the call to the this external API, get the data, and this data is available through the load function inside the page components. Okay, this is pretty much about the Svelte Kit stuff. Now let's get our hands dirty. We will create a baseline of admin dashboard app through the layouts. We are going to use the custom layouts, nested layouts, and then we will use simple login form. We will submit a login to the external API, get the access token, update that token inside a cookies. We will write our hooks using hook.server.ts that will validate because that runs at the server side, and that will validate, okay, your authorization token is in the cookies and that is a valid token. For valid token, we need to make a call. If the token is valid, then populate the payload outside from the token and set that token data to the event.locals from the hooks, and that data will be available to the load function, actions, or everywhere inside your application. So this is how you will be able to access the data. Okay, that's it guys. Let's meet in the next video where we are going to build a real world admin dashboard app.